today. So, which messages are working and who are they reaching? Here with us now are leaders of groups doing their own work to reach voters. Edward Ahmed Mitchell is National Deputy Director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, also a graduate of Morehouse here in Atlanta. Leslie Palomino is the Georgia Director for Poder Latinx. And Jennifer Lee is the Policy Director for the group Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta. Thank you all for being here. And I start with the first question. Are there still significant numbers of undecided voters? Are there?
So what I would say is what we've seen is, as a nonpartisan organization, the biggest challenge is not being undecided, but is getting people to come out to vote. Groups like Asian Americans who have traditionally not felt like they've been seen or heard or included as part of the process. Our message to Asian American voters is to say, your vote really matters in this election, and it is significant whether or not you come out and vote. And that message has been working. We've seen this fast-growing community that has traditionally lagged behind in their participation really increase their participation on election day.
You know, it's interesting. I've had this conversation before that the campaigns, and it's not exclusive to one or the other, they don't do a good job of reaching out and engaging Asian American voters. Has that changed this cycle, especially with Kamala Harris at the top of one ticket?
We've really seen that improve.
Yeah.
I think even 5-10 years ago in Georgia and all across the country, a lot of Asian American voters felt ignored. We've talked to voters at the doors that said, no one's ever come here before.
Yeah.
And so when we do our outreach, it's really important to do that to all communities, to do that in a language that they prefer. And we've seen that really make a difference.
Leslie, there was this really interesting finding in the new CNN poll out this weekend, and I want to bring this to you. A little more than half of Harris's supporters say that their vote is more for her than against Trump. So just 54% say they're voting for her. When you look at Trump's voters, nearly 3/4 are voting for him versus against Harris. Is the indecision of these undecided voters, is it issue and policy focused, or is it on personality and character?
Thank you so much for that question. When it comes to Latino voters, in the state of Georgia, we make up more than 435,000 eligible voters in our state. And with the Latino vote, we are not a monolith. We are very diverse with our political experiences, religion, and culture. And that really plays a factor.
Yeah. Edward, you were my first guest on my first show. The show turns 1 next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And what we were talking about, this was right after October 7th, just a few weeks into the war, and there were so many Arab American voters who were just starting to express their displeasure with the administration's support for Israel. And we've seen over the year, during the primaries, so many withhold the vote from then President Biden. But now the question is, are they still withholding the vote and their support for Kamala Harris?
Many of them, yes. So the poll that we conducted about a month ago showed that the presidential race among Muslim voters, not really a race between Harris and Trump, it's a race between Harris and Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. We had 29% voting for Harris, 29% for Stein, 11% for Trump, and then a lot undecided. And so Gaza is the top issue for the American Muslim community across the board, whether you're Black Muslim, Arab Muslim, that is the top issue, is stopping what our community views as a genocide. And they feel that neither major party candidate has laid out a plan to do that, and that's why third-party candidates are polling so well. Our focus is not on telling people who to vote for. That's not what we do. It's making sure they don't become disillusioned and say, I don't want to vote for anyone. I'm just so upset about seeing children being killed every day, and I don't want to be involved at all. We want to make sure you turn out to vote no matter who you're voting for.
And so Jill Stein could be in some of these states. I don't like to call any candidate a spoiler. Some have used that language, but she could be the difference between a Harris victory or a loss in a state, not so much a Trump win, because 29-29 split between those two in some states. That could be pretty sizable.
Yeah, look, there are 2.5 million eligible Muslim voters, and many of them are in swing states like Georgia, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So those states, because of the narrow margins of victory, it is quite possible the Muslim community voting for or against a candidate could influence the result of that race. And that is why I think you see Vice President Harris belatedly making a more concerted effort to try to address the concerns of Muslim voters. You even see Donald Trump reaching out to Muslim voters, trying to meet with them, and Jill Stein and other third parties have been doing that consistently. So I think there's a recognition that the American Muslim community has a big role to play in this election. The question is, are any candidates willing to say what they need to say about the genocide in Gaza to get their vote?
Jennifer, it seems like it's really been much longer. But the vice president has only been at the top of the ticket for like 14 weeks, right? So it's a really short campaign for her at the top. Has her taking over or now being the nominee, has that shifted voters from off the sidelines to engaged or pulled or realigned their potential alliances anyway, that they wouldn't have been in certain positions had Biden still been at the top of the ticket?
I think we've certainly seen some more excitement from some voters, particularly women voters, I think, that are more excited than they were prior. Yeah. But I think there's still a lot of disillusionment, as was said earlier. At this point, there's just been a lot of fatigue, I think. And again, our job is, of course, to make sure that people understand that they have the agency to not get tired right before Election Day and to really continue growing in the influence that the Asian American Pacific Islander community has. In Georgia, they now make up 4% of the population, and that, again, is a significant, small but significant group that can really decide the results of an election.
When you consider how close it was, fewer than 12,000 votes in 2020, 4% is sizable. Leslie, to you, I had Mike Madrid on, who is a veteran strategist, Latino analyst who has his new book out, The Latino Century, in which he questions the distinctions between the two approaches from the campaigns. Donald Trump has changed from Latinos for Trump to Latino Americans for Trump, the branding of it. The Harris campaign has hombres con Harris and Latinos con Harris. And the way in which rhetorically they approach the Latino community, he says, is problematic for Democrats. You talk about the community not being a monolith. There are Latinos who have been obviously in this country for many generations. Is it problematic, and some of these voters who are still trying to decide how the campaigns are reaching them?
Yes, thank you for that question. In our work at Ballot Latinx, when we're doing nonpartisan voter registration, we were able to also see a surge of Latino voters who were interested to register to vote, and how the campaigns decide to reach our community. It's important that they are listening to what our concerns are at the end of the day, which it's not just, immigration, it's health care, it's access to good paying jobs, paid leave.
Yeah, across the board, the economy is still number one, regardless of demographic, regardless of region. We're seeing the economic concerns still at the top. All right, Edward, Leslie, Jennifer, thank you all for coming in.